I'm Madeline Harvey. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We're going to talk all things vocal rest. What is it and why should we all be resting our voices? What other things can we do along with our vocal rest to get the maximum benefits from our resting time? So if you like today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up or click that subscribe button below. I would love to see you here more often. The video that you're about to see was taken as a clip from a live lesson that was shot earlier today. If you'd like to watch the entire live, then I invite you to click that join button below and become a member of this channel. As a member, you'll have exclusive access to all of our lives that we do every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, if that's way too late for you or really early for you, depending on where you are, fear not. You'll be able to access our members only area with over 70 plus hours worth of vocal instruction. So again, just click that join button. It's only $4.99 a month, and your contribution helps to support our channel. That way we can continue to deliver awesome content for you. You ready to get started? Here we go. Yes, there are lots of ways to rest your voice. So I wanted to take some time today to talk about vocal rest, why it's so important for everybody, knowing when to rest, exactly how to rest, when to come out of vocal rest, and how to come out of vocal rest. So that's a full docket right there. So I just want to say, if we have any new members, welcome. We do these lives every Monday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, so we're hopeful that you can join us. And also, we just launched a new Skillshare module. We have Endurance, Increase Your Vocal Endurance. Part 1 and Part 2 are officially on Skillshare. So we're really excited to share that with you, and we hope that you'll check it out. So here we go, guys. Feel free, as always, per the course, write anything that you want in terms of your experience with vocal rest, when you've had to take vocal rest, what that was like. But vocal rest is a reality. It should be a reality for everyone who uses their voice. So I'm hopeful that it's not just reserved for professionals, but that people who tend to rely on their voices, not just singers and performers, but teachers, preachers, radio hosts, call center employees. If you rely on your voice as an instrument, it's very, very, very important that you get adequate vocal rest. So let's just speak generally for a moment, and then we'll get into more specifics. The general rule for vocal rest is 10 minutes for every hour you speak. Now, if you think about that for just a second, just an hour of talking. But if you are talking continuously for an hour, your vocal cords are making contact with themselves for like those vibrations are sometimes hundreds and thousands of vibrations. They're touching themselves thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So just giving them a small break throughout the day, just to break that up, can really keep your voice solid. So that's our general rule. Now, I also want to suggest that we consistently, not just when we're sick, but we consistently either steam or nebulize. Now, that's in conjunction with water, because we should be hydrating. We should really, there's so many shoulds. I'm going to should all over you guys today. I'm so sorry. We should be hydrating as much as we possibly can, but hydration takes hours to get to a place where your vocal cords can be adequately lubricated. So I think it takes about 4 hours once you've drunk water for it to go to where it needs to go to lubricate your vocal cords via, the vocal phlegm, that phlegm, lovely watery substance. So when you nebulize, that's water particulates that are directly making contact straight away with those vocal cords. So it can be really, really great for the voice. So 10 minutes for every 1 hour of speaking, in addition to drinking water and nebulizing. Now that's a general rule, just generally speaking. Now I know sometimes, especially if you're a teacher or if you're working a shift as a call center employee, that you're talking all the time. So make sure that when you're on your lunch break or on your drive home, when you have like longer spans of time, that you're quiet, that you don't just pop up on the phone and talk some more. Give your voice a chance to recuperate from the day. So now I'd like to speak a little bit more specific in terms of usually when singers finally cave in and allow their voices to rest, which is usually when we're sick. It's happened to me, or when there's dietary issues, also happened to me. It's happening to me. And unfortunately, when there's an injury present or the possibility of an injury present. So that's when it gets a little scary. And that tends to be when singers take vocal rest a little bit more seriously. But there's two types of vocal resting that you can do. One is complete vocal rest. So I took many days and had myself a complete vocal rest. I'm talking, I had a dry erase board I was writing on. I did not violate my vocal rest at all last week. So when you have like the possibility of an injury, or you're sick, or you have like dietary issues, you want to give your voice the chance again to recover. I don't want to use the word damage. I'm trying to look for another word. But if there has been inflammation, there you go, from, let's say, laryngitis, do not speak if you have laryngitis. It just prolongs it. It adds injury. It's called an aggravating injury. It just keeps getting aggravated and just makes it longer than it needs to be. So make sure that if you've got laryngitis or you've got dietary issues or you've got an injury, that you go on a complete vocal rest. Now, if you think that you might have an injury, it's very important that you get that adequately diagnosed, because there's different protocols for rehabilitation depending on your injury. And I will use myself as the example, because I have something called LPR, which is laryngopharyngeal reflux. And that's why I had to go on a little bit of a resty. Partly because my larynx was so swollen from stomach acid. And I needed to be able to be quiet just to allow that that there was no further aggravation on what was already aggravated vocal cords. Also, I had to undergo a complete detox, which was no fun whatsoever at all. So that meant no caffeine, no heavy foods, no late night eating, none of that. No alcohol, none of that. Like, actually, it was a lot more strict. It was more like celery, hard-boiled eggs, sweet potatoes, and disgusting chamomile tea. I'm not a fan of chamomile tea. Very, very, very limited diet. Now, if you are like me and you have LPR too, or you think you have LPR, it's very important to detox while you're resting your voice, because that caffeine or that alcohol is going to constrict those vocal cords even more, and just keep aggravating them. And that's what we're looking to have a remedy for today. We want to know what's the best way we can adequately take care of our voices. So again, if you have laryngitis, rest your voice, plenty of liquids. If you are suspecting that you may have a vocal injury, complete vocal rest. And I suggest that during this time, this is just a good thing for a vocal rest. During this time, have a conversation with your voice. Like, not out loud, but have a heart-to-heart with your voice. If you think you might be abusing your voice, and when you go to sing high notes, it gets inflamed. You could probably sing for maybe half an hour to an hour before the voice is coming in and going out. That's abusing the voice. Your voice can only put up with that so long until it manifests an injury. So if you feel like you have to rest the very next day that you've sung, it's a good chance that you're abusing your voice, and that's causing this perpetual chronic inflammation. So if that's the case, heart to heart with yourself, ask yourself, am I trying to push myself too quickly through my own vocal development? Should I slow down and pace myself a little bit more? Should I maybe go for different roles? Should I choose simpler songs? Am I overly attached to having a certain style of singing? Yeah. I think that is true for all of us because we all want to be seen as strong, capable, powerful people. We just want to be capable people. And we all want to invoke, oh, wow. We all want that. But sometimes we push ourselves too quickly through our own vocal development, or sometimes we get so attached to having a specific sound. Maybe we want to change everything about our voices because maybe we just don't like who we are. So we're trying to change everything about our voice to try to make it different. And in that bending and shaping, we've bent our voice way out of its natural shape, and that's causing it to become inflamed. Okay? So it's very, very important that you develop a relationship with your voice, a sensitivity to your voice. Nora says, who would diagnose these? Speech therapists? Yes. Especially if you think that you have dietary issues or a vocal injury. You don't always have to get laryngitis diagnosed by a doctor. It's very obvious when the voice is inflamed, but sometimes, especially if you have dietary issues, that gets misdiagnosed as being allergies or like a, what is this? Like a sinus infection. Right. Sometimes it gets very, very misdiagnosed. So they would need to actually look with a little video camera at your vocal cords themselves to sort of see what's going on. And if you do have an injury, let's say it's muscle tension dysphonia, which is not the same as vocal nodules, but it has a different protocol for vocal nodules. So it varies slightly. So it is helpful to get that feedback from your doctor, especially with nodules, MTD, muscle tension dysphonia, or LPR. LPR is particularly dangerous because it's called silent reflux in that you don't experience the refluxing part. It just sort of appears. And at the point where it's appeared, it will appear as a lump in the throat, chronic clearing of the throat. You may choke on, it may be difficult to swallow. You may choke on water. That was me at a certain point in 2019 when I really, really was struggling with it. I was choking all of the time and I didn't know why. It's because it was so inflamed. And I wasn't experiencing any belly aches or anything like that. I needed to go to a doctor and have them actually look at my vocal cords. So yes, you can get them adequately diagnosed by your doctor. They can also give you some suggestions in terms of how to move forward. They can also tell you exactly how long you should rest. So for example, when I was diagnosed with LPR back in 2019, I was told to go on a 2-week complete vocal rest, which meant no sound whatsoever. And thank goodness I was able to detox and rest because that really, 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 really helped. That fixed it right away. It's like I didn't really need to take special medication. I just needed to make modifications to my diet, but I digress. So we discovered like why you should rest. You should definitely rest. We discovered kind of the conditions for resting, like if this, then that. I may have laryngitis, or I may have LPR, acid reflux, or I may have something potentially more serious. The remedy is always vocal rest. And you can determine, I just want to rest for a couple of days because, yeah, maybe it just is a small amount of inflammation. And then after a couple of days, test your voice, see how that feels. But I do want to talk about if you are, I've lost my thought. Dagnabbit. Oh, I've totally lost my thought, guys. Oh, Kimberly said I had nodules. I had to do speech therapy for a year or else it was surgery. Wow, it was no joke. That is intense. Yes, I think sometimes we think, and Glitterboo says, when you ate diagnosed with LPR, does it mean you will have it for the rest of your life and you should always keep an eye on it or you can recover completely? You know, I believe in a little bit of both because mine did come back and there were certain changes that I had to make permanently. Now, I didn't have the best of habits, but the thing that was aggravating me was I would love to snack at night, and then about an hour after snacking, I'd go straight to bed. So I have food in my stomach and I'm laying down. Not only that, but I like to sleep like I've fallen off a building, like on my face. So it's like completely flat, and the stomach acid was just sitting in my throat. And I didn't even realize it for a long time until my body went into something called decompensation, when that swelling, like I always felt like I had to clear my throat, which I want to say, do not clear your throat, guys. If you can help it, don't clear your throat. That is, I know it feels like I've got something there, I want to get it off. You can go, it's like a, how to describe that? It's like a sound without sound. It allows whatever on the cords to get off the cords without having to hack. That is very violent. Clearing the throat is very violent for the vocal cords. And if you are suffering from dietary things, which I do think, it's astonishing me, like how many people struggle with reflux, like really, really struggle with it. And because that mucus has to work overtime, you're getting this really heavy mucus just sitting on the vocal cords. Of course, you're going to want to get that off, but don't clear your throat because your poor vocal cords are already swollen. And when it's just like you're slamming them together, you're just re-injuring them, you're re-aggravating them. So we have to be really, really mindful. I think that's what it all comes down to. Be so mindful about how you're using your voice, when you're using your voice. Be very diligent about resting your voice, even if you don't think you need it. Rest anyways. It's like we need sleep, and we can only go so long without having adequate sleep that it really starts to affect our health. It's the same thing is true for the voice. So 10 minutes for every hour, but if you want to take longer, like I take vocal rest days. I really enjoy vocal rest days. I feel great when I come back from a vocal rest, and it's wonderful. So we talked about how to rest, the types of resting, complete and partial. Now, if you do a partial vocal rest, you are going to talk a little bit, but I would not suggest singing because, hello, it's vocal rest. So talk a little, no sing. That's a partial vocal rest. If you're in a show, I mean, a lot of performers know this intimately, probably because they've had to learn it a hard way in a lot of ways. But if you're doing 8 shows a week and these shows are a couple of hours and there's high intensity singing, you're going to be exhausted. You're not going to want to talk. I remember when I went to school in New York, I would be at a Starbucks and there was a couple people in line that would just have their order written on Post-it notes, and they would just hand the Post-it note to someone to order their coffee. But just, I'm saying, caffeine on a vocal rest is not the best vocal rest. So be very mindful, and be very mindful when you're resting, because there are studies that prove that as soon as your attention is on what you're doing while you're resting, let's say, for example, you're aware you're resting. Even just saying that I'm resting, it's like an affirmation. It allows the muscles inside of your throat, especially if they're responding to tension that's brought on by stress, not even just singing, but let's just pretend that I'm stressed. Let's pretend. And my muscles in my neck are flexing in response to that stress, right? Even if I'm not even singing. So I may want to bring in some mindfulness, some laryngeal massage into my vocal rest as well. So I'm going to show you a really great laryngeal massage. Lucinda, look at you being an advocate, friend. Maybe they ordered decaf. I'm sure they did. But that's death for me because there's acid. So anyway, I tried to drink the decaf. So I'm going to show you a laryngeal massage.